Angels, and thank you for stopping by another episode of Earth Angel Journeys. Today we are talking to Gabriella Flores, and she is going to be talking about the inner child. Self-love and gratitude is what we're talking about all month long in November, and this is no exception because we need to love ourselves, and our inner child's been telling us that all along. Gabriella is going to be talking about that coming up right after this. Let's get started. Hello, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Today's topic is about self-love.
Yes.
What do you feel about that?
So, oh my goodness, what don't I feel about that? I have so much to feel about all of this, about self-love. So what I do is I am a life coach. I'm a hypnotherapist. I work directly with your subconscious, your conscious, but mostly I work with your inner child. So there is a self-love paradigm that a lot of people don't know, because we as humans, we are filled with layers and layers and layers of complexities. And, we kind of like view the self-love world in a very like woo-woo, like, oh, I have to go within and find my answers, and it becomes this whole ordeal because we're very busy. We have many roles that we do. But when we start to view self-love instead of it's a chore. Oh, I have to do it. Oh, I know it's good for me, but I'm so tired, You start to view self-love as this adventure, as this exploration of going within, finding your inner child, and then fighting for custody, because our inner child is I guess you could say is the explorer, is the one that's inside of us and is like, yeah, you left me here to go do all these other things, and I've been here and I've been wanting you to pay attention to me because we have creativity. We have so much that we still have to do. And so I think the beginning of self-love starts off with that, is going within to find your inner child.
What do you describe as an inner child? A lot of people, we hear that,
Yes.
That term. What is the inner child?
So the inner child is our consciousness. It's the one that is all the way behind the scenes, the one that's like, the one that doesn't belong to any of this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. Not out in front, right?
Right. This is all beautiful, right? This is all great. But I'm talking about the one truly, really behind the scenes, the one that's been observing, the one that's been viewing. That's our inner child, is our consciousness. Mm-hmm. The only way to get there, right, is obviously it's work. Okay. A lot of people hate that. They're like, well, I don't want to work on it. I kind of want it just to sort of manifest in my life. And you know what? It can, because there's ways on how to do that. But you have to be patient with your inner child. Just like
that's a problem too, patience.
Yeah, exactly. Because think about any child, an actual child, not your inner child, right? Mm-hmm. An actual child. You have to have patience. Because the child's like doing this and going here, and the child's free. And you're like, could you just like sit there for 1 second and just be like, just let me let me take this in. And the child is like, no, I'm in receiving mode. Mm-hmm. That's when you're tapping in. More and more is when you're allowing yourself to receive more.
Do you find that that more conflict about yourself and your consciousness are constantly battling each other, correct?
Always, all day, every day. They're like, honestly, they're like siblings. Mm-hmm. That's how I view it. They're just like siblings. They're fighting. They're like sibling rivalry, like your inner child and then your actual self. And they're just like, listen, I can't deal with this. I can't play right now. I need to be serious. I need to be serious, worried, anxious, and stressed, because that's what this life is about. And then your child's like, no, it's not. Who the hell told you that? And you're like, well, you need to grow up. You need to grow up and see that. And then before you know it, all of the things that you are seriously telling yourself are things that are creating manifestations of illness, diseases, all these horrible things. And your inner child has been yelling at you, being like, that's what I was telling you not to do. I was telling you to relax. I was telling you to calm down. So it is a battle, but it is the best sort of exploration to find that true power within.
So how do you find what you do, how do you find the best way to tap into that inner child? Through the meditation, or is there another way that we should do it?
Yes. So meditation is the best medication. I always say this because some days you're just going to feel like you can't shut off the brain and you really, really want to. So you just kind of allow yourself to step back for a minute, close your eyes. And I love this meditation to get me back into the zone of my inner child. Is I put my left hand on my heart, my right hand on my stomach, close my eyes, take a deep breath, and I simply whisper to myself, I love you, I am listening.
That's so important.
I repeat this as I'm breathing, I love you and I'm listening, I release it. And I continue to do this until I begin to feel like I've got a blanket over me, like I'm getting snuggled in, like someone, the divine, is snuggling me into this warm embrace and is saying, I got you. I always did. And once I feel that sense of peace, I'm tuned in.
Mm-hmm. Where do you go from there? After you've connected, how do you make it a more connection with that inner child to bring out more of yourself?
Surrender.
That's right, girl.
Yes, it is the hardest thing. But once you feel like, okay, once you get that like divine love, where, as I mentioned, that embrace, where you're saying, I love you, I'm listening, and you really, really hear yourself. And you start to feel like it's exactly the way a child feels. Like they just feel like, I say scriggly and scraggly. I don't know why. That's my inner child who likes feeling that way. Mm-hmm. But when you feel whatever that word may mean, it's like knowing I'm safe, I'm protected. And once you feel safe and protected, you let go. Mm-hmm. Completely let go. And then you go even further, because that's just the beginning, right? That's just scratching the very surface. Right. Go deeper and further, and you start to say, okay, now that I've arrived here, I have to now acknowledge all of the parts of me. The parts that you may not really, really be like, wow, I didn't know that was something about me. I didn't realize that, I was capable of that. And the divine says, oh, listen, I know about all these parts, even the ones that you're not aware of. I still love you unconditionally. Mm-hmm. I don't view you the way you view yourself. So when you allow yourself to surrender completely, you're allowing the divine to provide that unconditional love to the parts that you may not love, and then be able to tell you, now I want you to surrender to a flow where you are tapping into your unlimited possibilities.
Yeah, and when you start doing that, a lot of people got to understand, you get a lot of emotion coming out.
Oh, yes.
Lots of emotion, right?
It is Niagara Falls. Mm-hmm. It is, and it does not stop. And it becomes even unbearable, especially if you're not used to being tuned in with your inner child. Mm-hmm. If you're not used to it and you're kind of always just doing like, well, let's keep going, let's, on, which is what we're conditioned to do, is be on autopilot, kind of like, let's go, we wake up, we're doing this, we're doing that. And we don't realize the whole point of all of this is to pause and listen to our consciousness and really understand what is going on inside here? There's more to us than our physical selves. There's more to us than our to-do list. Okay.
Right.
There is so much more to us, and we're connected into such a way that it's just our light selves, ourselves just trying to free our own selves from what we're here doing, you know.
What do you think are the benefits? What have you seen? Can you give me any examples of different people that you've seen that have transformed by doing this?
So I have seen many of my clients go through a process of shedding, which is like I call them outfits, right? They used to wear outfits that were other people's perceptions of them. And they would wear them. So someone else would wear, someone else would say, oh, this is what you are. So they would put that on. They would walk around and they'd be like, well, my friend told me this is what I am. So this is what I am. And I started to be like, for sure. Yeah. And then they would say, well, I don't understand why I give so much value like to the external. And I'm like, because you're giving your inner child the power to do that. You dictate, you say, is that something that is defined by my voice, my consciousness, or is it defined by something external? And by the way, this is a very important point. We humans, we have biases. There's mornings where we wake up, we're not in a great mood. And then there's mornings where we're like, today is going to be fabulous, right? So our energy and what we're projecting onto others, whether it's positive or negative, has really nothing to do about them. It has to do with what we're carrying and what we're saying to ourselves. So knowing that piece of information, when you go into your inner child, you actually find that you're free from what someone's positive comment is about you or someone's negative comment. It no longer, you just sort of hear it and you're like, oh, so you're saying that from your level of awareness. And I appreciate that, but I don't value it anymore. I value what's going on within. And I noticed that those transformations are really, really beautiful to see.
I'm seeing a lot where that is happening. They're taking on all this information from everyone else, and they're grabbing here and they're grabbing there, when they should just go, okay, I value your opinion, but let me move on. Let me do this work myself. I appreciate what you say, and that's very important that we acknowledge somebody wanting to help us.
Absolutely.
We have to acknowledge that within us.
Yeah, it's a form of all receiving. Everything is just a receiving, but of course, it's okay for you to say return to sender. You know what I mean? That's okay. That's your power. If you want to make today a fabulous day, that's within your power. If you want to make today a day where you're like, I'm in my feels and I don't want to talk to anyone, I want to shut it all down, that's also okay. Because you need to, but you'll know when you're going with it. You'll know what the inner child needs. Every child is different, right? There's some children who are happy children, and then there's some that are like, they've got a lot going on, and that's beautiful. But that's what you have to do, is go within and tend to what your inner child needs. Some days are going to be magical. And then some days are just going to be like, I'm having an off day. Doesn't matter. As long as you nurture whatever your inner child needs, that gives you this freedom to transcend any earthly thing. Which is funny because we're on such a beautiful show right now, right? It's about being here, grounded. I really believe that when you do that, you transcend that. You can transcend anything that's given to you, if you just nurture the inner child within, which is all this real love. And then that becomes, then you start to become aware on a level where you can see someone and what they're giving to you, and then when you can detach yourself from what they're giving to you and you just view it as like, oh, I see you and I honor you. and I love you. And, you know, whatever you are giving to me is whatever you give to yourself. You know, so it's always something that becomes, if you look at everything from love, from that vantage point of love, then it becomes much easier to choose what kind of love you're worthy of receiving and what kind of love you want to return to sender.
That's beautiful. Let me ask you, what started you on this whole journey? What started you on your path?
Yeah, so I did non-self-love. It was the opposite, you know. I did the self-destructive path, you know, because as a human, I think that comes easier for us to do that for some very strange reason. You know, I think we're like, you know, in our collective society, we kind of have this whole preconceived notion that you got to man up, right? It's a man's world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you hear that, you hear, I got to be strong, I got to be tough. So if I fall down, I get back up. You become like this, it's a resilient nature where, but it's not a resilience of something that's nurturing you. It's more of a resilience of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that path. And that path led me to always realize that that was still a power of mine. That was a shadow part of mine where I had to go down that path and just say, okay, so this is what I created. Wow. Okay. So I'm always in creator mode.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can like go down a path where it's like, I can create my own hell. I can create all of these things. I can give more power to my fear. Imagine who would want to do that? This girl. I don't know why, but I felt that if I go down that and I explore those darker parts of me, because I wanted to be with myself. I didn't want to rely on anyone. I wanted to just explore it within. So I took that path. This is not a path I recommend to anyone because it is a very, very hard path. It's very, very solitary. It is a path where you have to be very mindful that, you know, your mind can play tricks on you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so if you're not deeply rooted within yourself, it could cause, you know, a place where you may not be able to return from. You know, I feel very, very lucky and grateful that I was able to go on this path because I felt like intuitively that's where I was guided to go. So I think that's another big, huge point of this whole process is don't do what someone else is doing or don't do what may work for someone else. Follow your own intuitive path, whatever that means for you. Someone may say to you, well, you know, you really shouldn't go down that path. And you got to tell them, but you know what? For some reason, I feel connected to this going down to this path. And just allow yourself to explore that. So there's a great quote. It says, through the power of destroying myself, I was able to find myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my path, because I felt like that was more tuned into the pain that was caused onto me, but then of course the pain that I had brought on myself as well. So I had to learn how they all connect, how they all become one, you know. And then from there, I was able to transform. And some say I alchemized it. And I feel that we all have that gift to do that. And then from there, I now found this passion to, you know, be, you know, part of someone else's process and feel honored to be part of that process.
Now, in that process, if somebody comes to you,
Mm-hmm.
how can you help them?
Oh, everyone is so different. So they may come to you on a level like very simple, like, you know, I want to have more self-esteem. Something very, very simple, right? And it's like, okay, but you're like, but then what? And then what? So my goal and my job is to get to the very bottom of it, where you don't have any self-esteem, not because you're someone who's unworthy or because this is society, right? But you don't have any self-esteem because, let's say, as a specific example, your parents, mom gave you unconditional love always, dad made you earn his love. And when you started to feel like you had to work hard to gain love, you started to feel, I'm not good enough, so I have to try harder. So you learn that at a very young age. So in your relationships, you go after the ones that aren't giving you the love. And then before you know it, you're back in a cycle of, I don't know my self-worth, I don't know my value. And it has nothing to do with you being this broken person. It has to do with a learned behavior or a learned belief from very, very beginning. So the process is sort of, first we have to see how you were as an actual child. And then we have to start tapping into your inner child. And then providing that sort of, that path of where we go from there.
Okay, so basically you're taking them from things that they probably didn't even realize that they had underneath there, that inner child that's screaming but really doesn't understand how to get out. You're helping them extract that, grab that, and then put them on the path of where they need to be, but letting them do it on their own, correct?
Correct. Yes. It's, for me, it's not like how to or what to do. For me, it's like, I'm part of your process. So it's kind of like, I say to them, I'm joining you, I'm just joining you here. But there's someone else here with us, and that's your inner child. So
you're a partner. You're a partner in their self-love.
Yes. And my goal is to get them to become very much aware of themselves to the point where they're holding on to their inner child like this, and they're saying, all right, we got this. And then and then whenever that process continues. So my clients, it's really interesting. I have clients who work with me. We go through this process, and I do a pay-as-you-go system. So I don't tell you, like, you have to do 4 to 5 sessions. No. We're going to do this, your pace, your time. Let's just dive in. This is your investment for you. But I work in such a detached way because I want you to tap into yourself. And then I want to see you expand collectively. And then if you fly away, it's beautiful. If you fly back, that's also beautiful. Yeah, it's freedom. That's really how wow, I didn't realize it until this moment, but that's really what it is. I just try to allow them to have their freedom within themselves.
Sure.
I don't, I am at the end of the day a human. And right now, this is what I'm doing. But if the divine wants me to transcend and leave, I don't want someone to feel like, well, now she's gone. Now what do I do? I never would want that for anyone. I want them to say, I still hear her. I still can feel her, telling me telling me I can do this, and to go within. And whatever, tools and resources I give to that specific soul, because I think we're so different and yet also the same. And it's all that we're all seeking this love.
Right. So the universe basically sends you the people that needs your help. And then when you have completed your work, basically, they move on. And I think that's important because, like you said, you don't want to be stuck. When you feel that you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
But you are very vital in their help, and that is awesome.
Oh,
How can they actually get in touch with you?
So you can go on my website, soulexcelsior.com. You can email me, soulexcelsior@gmail.com. You can call me. The best way probably is to email me. I feel that people do find that they're a little bit more connected to just writing something, because when they're on the phone, they get so, it's so funny. It's like, I have questions, but I can't remember. And so, I just say, like, take your time. Sometimes I'll have clients who will call me. We'll do a free consultation. So I give you like a little mini session, not because, sort of say, oh, okay, yeah, I definitely want to work with her. It's more of, can I really help you? Because I know that in this field, you have to be honest with yourself. We all want to be a Mother Teresa of sorts, right? In our own spiritual way, where we want to help and live up to our divine soul purpose. But we also have to be mindful that, there are people that may not actually be benefit from the light, or they may reject your light. And that's okay. That goes back to the work that hopefully we as healers do, right? In the sense of that, don't take anything personal. Nothing is about you. Everything is just something much, much greater than we can possibly imagine. So I do enjoy giving a free session in the very beginning as a consultation, sort of we can gauge, can I really do this? Can I really help you? Do you even like my energy? If you don't, that's okay. I don't think it but as long as you're starting the process of starting to, do your due diligence and say, I need help, or I need to go and seek something, something out of my own head to get me to see a different perspective. Keep searching, keep looking for it, be open. As long as you're starting that, to me, even if I'm the starting point and where you continue your process, or if I'm just like, okay, I started off with Gabriella and then I go this way, great too. Just keep moving forward, onward and upward. That's, something that I always say, because there's so much to this. We're not meant to live in a process of pain. We're not supposed to continue to give our pain purpose, where it becomes a record and we're like, every night we're playing the same painful record.
It just keeps going round and round.
Right. And you're like, I hate this song, but for some reason I can't stop playing it. We don't want that, so I know there's complexities to all of it. So I do what I can. I once had a client who reached out to me in, let's say, February. And then she said, this was great. I got to go back and think about it. I said, sure, whatever. And then within a couple of months reaches out, hey, do you remember me? Of course. Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and start? Absolutely. And then, so I always say that in itself all has to do with divine timing as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the spirit leads, that's when you go, right?
Yes. And I love it when you put yourself in that driver's seat, and say, okay, you just allow yourself to surrender to that. You just know it's like, this is the time now. This time is meant for this. And if I can help in that way, I feel honored. I do. I feel very honored to be part of someone's process and someone's journey. And, I truly enjoy it. I don't know what it is. It's like, some people say to me, they're like, wow, that's a lot of energy, and that's a lot of, like, they just kind of come and they're like, here's my baggage, here you go. And, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I look at their baggage and I look at them as gifts, as treasures, wisdom, and there's a lesson, and there's a tool here, and there's a resource, and there's something that you can take. And then I give it back to them. And then they are like, wow, I went from, thinking this was something that was going to destroy me to this ascending me to greater possibilities,
So you actually are seeing the big picture. You're giving them that outlook to see it for themselves. That is awesome.
Yeah,
that's talent, girl.
I don't. Thank you. I don't give it to them in the beginning, because you got to understand that they're not going to get that. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm still here. I'm still licking the wound, and you're like, okay. So I know that takes time as well. And that's a patience as well, which I really, 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 truly believe is one of our greatest tools is patience. I try to provide the way to deal with patience easier through laughter. I don't know what it is. You laugh, and it's like all of a sudden you're like, okay, all right. Don't take yourself too seriously,
Right.
because it's so serious. Like, it has to go this way. It has to happen this quickly. It has to. And it's like, does it, or are you part of a bigger plan, that was set out for you? Like, did you really decide when you were going to be born, or did something else decide that for you?
Mm-hmm.
And when you really put that into perspective, you're like, all right, so I'm totally not in control. Not at all. Not at all. And then but it becomes, instead of this fear of letting go, it becomes a power
of the inner child.
Yes, the inner child is like, I just want to bounce around, and I just want to create things. I want to be in joy. I want to see what this. I want the universe to surprise me. When you live in that state, you manifest instantly. It's just, it becomes something like, why didn't I do this before? Why was I all like, trying to meet a deadline? When I co-created with Divine knows you're a child. Mm-hmm. You're always going to be that way, no matter what earth age you are, right? It doesn't matter. The Divine knows that you are a child of this beautiful cosmic universe. And when you hold yourself in that light, in that joy, anything is possible. But don't block it. Don't block it because of the lessons that you learned, while being part of this beautiful, I call it, we're just visitors here. We're just passing by. Literally, we're all on like a little visa, right? We're just passing, just going by,
We'll get you on the flip side.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's all it is. But we become attached to this idea, and it's an idea that we create. I used to hear these concepts and be like, what are you talking about? Like, live through the eyes of the divine, live through the attitude of your consciousness. It becomes these ideas that you're like, I don't even understand what you're talking about. Here on planet Earth, we're dealing with some messed up things, right? And we are. Mm-hmm. But if you start to start off with your things. Before you're ready to go out into the world and transform the world by your own self, you have to transform self. Mm-hmm. And that in itself becomes just the most beautiful love story that you can ever possibly imagine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Gabriella, for your time and your wonderful wisdom.
Thank you.
We will make sure that we'll have a lot of information up top so that they can get to you and help if they need it. You're right there for them.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love what you're doing and everything that you're bringing into the collective. I'm very grateful for you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Take care. Well, Earth Angels, I hope you enjoyed today's show, and I hope you take some time to listen to your own inner child. Find out what they're telling you. They've probably been knocking at the door for some time. It's now time to listen. Until next week, stay vibrationally centered, Earth Angels, and I'll talk to you soon. And when you put energy healing and creative visualization together, it creates something magical.